Picture your Shopify store right now. You've got one tab open for your Shopify admin, another for an AI chat that you're using to write product descriptions, another for your email platform, and then somewhere in there, there's a doc with brand guidelines that you keep having to copy and paste from. None of those tools know what you actually sell. None of them know your prices, your inventory, or what's selling this week. So every task literally starts from zero. Well, that's the gap that Hubi is built to close for Shopify sellers specifically. Now, there are plenty of AI tools out there that'll hand you a marketing idea, but Hubi's different. It's an AI coworker that actually gets the work done. Once it's connected to your store, it knows your products, your pricing, your inventory, and your orders, and it handles the marketing work that depends on the data, like product page rewrites, SEO updates, campaigns built around what you actually sell, and social content that points back to real products instead of placeholders. And before we connect to Shopify, Hubi needs a home, and that home is Slack. It's not a separate tab that you have to remember to open. It sits in your Slack workspace and the channels where your team already talks. So once it's connected to your store, handing it a Shopify-related task is as easy as sending a message. And what actually sets Hubi apart is what it remembers. Now, most AI tools start from scratch every single time, or they just quietly store what they learn somewhere that it's hard for you to find. But Hubi remembers your brand, your audience, your competitors, and your goals. And the more it learns about your business, the sharper its work gets. It genuinely is the kind of coworker that keeps marketing your business while you sleep. And because it's natively integrated with tools like Shopify and Slack, as well as natively connecting to over 1,000 additional tools, this is a coworker built specifically for that tech stack with no custom connector or technical setup involved. You just ask and interact with Hubi, and it uses your real data to make decisions and gets the work done directly inside those tools that you're already using. So, on that note, let's get started. All right, so let's set this up. So first things first, head over to the Hubi AI homepage. You can get there by visiting the link in the video description below. And then Hubi recently updated their homepage and their sign-up flow. That's why you're hearing my voice, because I'm updating this video so that you can have the most up-to-date walkthrough of this tutorial. So from the homepage, you'll click Hire Hubi for free. And from there, it'll take you through a quick onboarding. Hubi will ask you some clarifying questions like what's your first name, and what your company's called, where you're based, what language you're going to use, where you are in your business journey, what kind of business you're running, and what industry you're in, as well as who works with you. Is it just you, or do you have employees? And whether or not you have a website and what it's built on. And then once we send that through, it'll create your company profile. And this only takes a few seconds, so just sit tight really quick while it does its thing. And then once it's done, your Hubi workspace is ready. Now from here, we're going to connect with Slack. So click the Connect Slack button. And then Slack will ask you for your workspace URL. You can type that in and click Continue. And then not shown here, I signed in and then I was asked to verify my account with my authentication app. And then next, Slack will ask you to approve Hubi's permissions. Go ahead and review those, and then click Allow. And then that drops you right back into the AI dashboard. Slack is now officially connected. It was that easy. All right, then Hubi asks which channels it should join. And you've got two options. You can invite it to every public channel at once, or choose specific channels yourself. For most teams, inviting Hubi to all channels, all your public channels, is the easiest way to get started and will get you value fast. So we're going to go with that option. So I'll click Invite Hubi to all public channels, and then you'll get a confirmation that Hubi is ready. So go ahead and click Open Slack to see it in action. And here it is, right in your workspace under Agents and Apps, just like any other teammate. And you can open a conversation with Hubi and you'll see its intro message. It can create social posts. It can run SEO audits. It can research companies, design brand assets, generate documents, schedule automations, or connect to over thousands of other apps, all by tagging it in a channel or messaging it directly. And before we connect Shopify, let's see Hubi handle a quick request right here in Slack. So I'm going to ask create some social posts promoting a video, promoting this video actually. All right, and then we'll send that through. And then before we watch this play out, a quick heads up, Hubi doesn't reply instantly. You send your message and then it takes a moment to think before it actually responds. It's not a long wait, it's just a beat, but you'll see that little time icon going there. And once it's done, what I like is that instead of guessing and handing back something generic that probably will end up taking you more time in the long run, Hubi asks a few quick follow-up questions. Which platforms do I want to cover? What does the walkthrough actually show? And whether I have a link or call to action ready. That's a small thing, but it's the difference between a tool that just generates content and a coworker that checks it before it runs with something. So I'm just going to give it my reply there, and then we'll fast forward really quick again. And then thought for a second, and then it came back with the finished posts and even pulled my brand kit, the signature blue, and it built 3 platform tuned posts, one for Instagram, one for Facebook, and one for X. And then a quick note here, the brand kit setup itself isn't something that you're seeing in this part of the video. That normally happens when you first sign up. If you haven't set up your own brand insights in your brand guide yet, don't worry, I'm going to show you exactly how to set that up inside Hubi's brain a little later on in the video. All right, and then looking over the posts, you can click into them and you can get a closer look at them. And this is great. It's, again, it not only provide the posts, but it provide some thumbnails as well. And the Facebook post, I noticed that it's using an image of someone who doesn't really look like me. Not a huge deal, but let me show you what we could do here in Slack. So this is just like interacting with a coworker, right? We see something that we don't like, so we're going to tell the coworker we need an edit. I'm going to tell it that this isn't me and to change the image, and we'll send that through. And then check that out. We'll click on it. The image has been updated and looks a lot better. And if we want to add an image of me, we could, upload a headshot of myself and then add it to that thumbnail. But that's the loop in a nutshell. It builds the work in your brand voice, and it's happy to revise on the spot when something's not quite right. And right now, Hubi's working off what I told it in the chat. So next, let's connect it to Shopify so that I can pull that same kind of work straight from my actual store, my real products, my real pricing guide, etc. Instead of anything that I just type in myself, we could pull all this data from Shopify, and Hubi will get to work. All right, so to get Shopify connected, head to the capabilities page. If you're not there already, you could click capabilities in the left sidebar to get here. And then this is Hubi's control center for everything outside of chat. It's where you connect third-party integrations like Shopify. You can manage skills. You could set up NCP connections. You could build automations, add store credentials, etc. Slack lives here too. Under channel integrations, you could see all the channels that we have connected. But what we're going to do is we're going to connect Shopify. And it's right there at the top. So let's go ahead and click on that Shopify card. And once we do, panel opens up explaining exactly why this connection matters. Your store data lives in Shopify, but answering a simple question like which products are low on stock or what revenue looked like last week usually means digging through the admin yourself. But connecting Shopify to Hubi means you could just ask Hubi instead. It's also worth pointing out that Hubi talks to your Shopify store through Shopify's official admin API. So the connection's native. Your store credentials stay in Shopify, and Hubi never sees your raw access token. All right, so go ahead and click Connect, and then you'll land on Hubi's listing in the Shopify App Store. From here, go ahead and click Install, and then Shopify will show you exactly what the app is asking to access: your customer data, your staff and contributor data, full view, edit access, and more. All right, so go ahead and review that and then click Install. And then that drops you into a pairing screen inside Shopify. And Hubi runs on gethubi.ai. So to link the specific store, you'll need a pairing code. And this is super simple. Go ahead and click that button there. And that opens up a new tab confirming which store you're linking and which workspace should own it. And I'm blurring out the code for security purposes, but just click copy to grab the code. And then once copied, head back to the Shopify tab and paste that code into the pairing code field. And then click verify and connect. And that's it. Shopify now shows that this store is connected to your GetHubi.ai workspace. Blog with Ben, in my case, and Hubi can read and write data from my store on my behalf, my orders, my products, my discounts, themes, and more. All right, before we move on, I want to show you how to access what this connection actually gives Hubi so you can configure it if you want to, since that's worth showing rather than just going on faith. All right, so from the same screen, click those three dots near the top right corner, and then click Manage App from that drop down. And this takes you to the app settings page inside Shopify, where you'll see what was installed, your current billing plan, and then here below that is a table, and this will show you what Hubi can see and do. And it breaks down view and edit access across customers, discounts, gift cards, your online store, orders and products, plus a running log of recent activity once Hubi actually starts doing work. And you'll also find the privacy section confirming this app can access personal data in your store, along with a link to the developer's privacy policy if you want to review exactly what that covers. And again, you can configure this to your liking, but I just wanted to show you what was here and what Hubi can actually see and do. All right, then go ahead and click the Open App button, and this is going to take us back to the Hubi app inside Shopify. And then a quick note before we move on, if you click Chat with Hubi right there from this Shopify screen, it'll take you back to Hubi's onboarding instead of straight into chat. And that's because Hubi still wants us to set up the first job. It's the second step in the onboarding process, but we're going to come back to jobs shortly. But if you just want to talk to Hubi directly and hand it instructions about your Shopify store right now, we're going to skip past the onboarding, and I'm going to click Ask Hubi, and that's going to drop us into the chat window where we could ask Hubi anything, and it will pull from our brain, our skills, and everything it's now connected to, including our store. So let's put that connection to work right away. I'm going to type in a simple request, generate social posts, and add concepts that point back to specific products already live on my store. And we'll take a quick look at my store right here. Again, this is just a demo Shopify store, but it is a live store. It has products, it has product listings, and all I'm doing is I'm asking a simple question. And because it's connected to our Shopify store via the connection, it can access my store, it can access the data, it can access the products, it can access the product pages, it can access the links, and it's going to be able to create specific tailored social posts in a matter of seconds just from one single text prompt because it is connected to the store. It's pretty amazing, and it saves you so much time, trust me. All right, so we're going to send this through, and it gets to work. And instead of just handing back an answer, Hubi shows its work as it goes, which is pretty cool. It loads its social media skill, it searches for the right tool to use, and connects to Shopify's native admin API. And then it kind of tells you exactly what it's doing, pulling up the social playbook, and then going to find what products are actually live on the store. And then about 30 seconds later, it comes back, having pulled our actual live store and found 4 active products, each with real product page links attached to them. For every product, it also wrote a full set of platform-tuned content. We got an Instagram caption, a Facebook caption, and a separate ad concept with its own angle, hook, and call to action, each one grounded in that specific product's real name and real price. And it didn't stop there either. Look, Hubi offered to keep going, generate ad visuals using our brand palette, build out a LinkedIn or X angle, or put all 4 products into a single carousel. And here's the part that I really want to show the value of this connection. Hubi noticed something on its own. Those product pages didn't have a public storefront link yet, which likely means that they're not published to this storefront. So instead of quietly handing that content and pointing to broken links, it actually flagged the issue, asked whether it should check publication status before we push anything live. And that's the payoff of connecting Shopify in one example. Real products, real prices, real links, and a coworker that catches a problem before it ships instead of guessing and just posting it anyway. That's pretty cool. All right, so everything we've done so far has happened live. In the moment, you ask a question or hand it a request, and it goes and it does that thing. But a job is different. It's work that you hand to Hubi for good, not just once. A job bundles together a set of skills, automations, and integrations around one specific task, and then runs it on a schedule, daily, weekly, monthly, inside its own Slack channel. And you just describe what you want in plain language, and Hubi sets up everything behind the scenes. And then once it's active, that job just keeps happening in the background without you having to ask again. All right, so let's set up our first job. So back at Hubi's onboarding screen, step 2 is add your first job. So we're going to click add a job. And you could type out your own job right here, or just scroll through the set of ready-made templates. And they're grouped by category. There's Shopify stars, SEO, social media, sales, and CRM, and sales without one. And then the Shopify stars tab alone, this is the full list of jobs built specifically for Shopify sellers. And there is a ton to choose from here. A lot of really good things here, things that I wouldn't have thought of. And if you're brand new to this, it's a really great way to get started with jobs. You'll just click one. And for this walkthrough, I'm going to pick homepage and top product content quality optimizer. It's a monthly content pass on your homepage, hero, and your top product pages. And it drafts improvements while always asking before it changes anything, which is nice. All right, so it opens a panel on the right with the details. It uses your Shopify integration and runs inside a Slack channel on a monthly cadence. And then below that is something worth watching closely. There's a real example of this job in action, and it proposes specific before and after copy changes. The store owner approves some or passes on to others, and then only touches what got a yes. It's also upfront about the limits of what it can do on its own. Some fields it can update directly in Shopify, while anything living in your theme gets handed back as exact text that you could then paste in yourself. And then once you're ready, let's go ahead and click Create Job. And this will land you in the brain, which is where every job that you actually build lives long-term, right alongside knowledge folders like your preferences, your brand, and your insights, which we'll get to in just a bit. Then Hubi lays out the rest of the setup as 7 steps. Create a skill, decide where Hubi should work, optionally add extra knowledge, set how often the job runs, add anything that's missing, test it, and then finally activate it. All right, so the first step is use integrations. And since we already connected Shopify earlier in this video, Hubi automatically picks that up here and marks it as integrated. So click Next. And then step 2 is create skill. This is the part where Hubi actually builds the specific set of instructions behind this job. So give it a second to work and it'll come back with a plain language purpose statement, improves your homepage and top product copy with your sign off. Perfect. So go ahead and click Next. And step 3 asks where Hubi should work. So click that channel dropdown and search for the channel you want. And then once that's selected, click Next. And step 4 is optional. You can upload reference files for extra context here. I'm not going to do that for this job, so go ahead and click Skip. And then step 5 sets how often this job runs. And one quick note here, even though the job is called monthly copy refresh, I'm going to set it to daily for now. That's just so we could see a real test run today instead of waiting a month for the first one. All right, so go ahead and click Next. And then step 6 is ready to test job. So you can confirm that it worked as expected. So we're going to open Slack and check that out. And it drops us right into the Hubi video channel. And again, Hubi's already introducing itself here and asking for a moment to catch up on the channel's context before start working. And then a little while later, posts that the monthly copy refresh is wired up and ready to roll. Lays out exactly what the job will do each cycle. You could review it there. And also says that it's going to kick off the first test run. So we'll give that another minute. And this is where it gets really interesting because Hubi will come back explaining exactly what it did. It pulled the connected store. It sorted the top products and it loaded the brand voice to draft sharper copy, proposed strictly as before and after with nothing touched live. Then it flags something important on its own. Again, the connected store right now only holds placeholder demo products. Again, remember it was a demo store. This wasn't a real store. Generic test listings with no real specs or bestseller data to work from. Probably not the best example, but rather than faking copy, it never invents claims. So instead of pretending, it walks through exactly what a real run would produce using this actual format. And it also closes with a clear bottom line. The mechanics will work. The brand voice was applied, real Shopify data was pulled, and it correctly refused to invent copy for placeholder products. That's pretty cool. So we can point this job at the store with real products a little later on, and a live run produces full hero and top product options for us to accept, edit, or skip, with nothing ever changing without our explicit yes. That is important. Then it asks you to confirm the test. So everything does look right. And it works. So we will confirm this test back at the web app. And at the dashboard, we'll just click Mark as tested. And that checks off step 6 and step 7, activate the job. And let's click activate. And that's it. Monthly copy refresh now shows up as an active job here in Slack, and it's saved permanently in our knowledge right alongside the rest of our jobs. All right. So earlier in this video, Hubi already knew our brand colors, our logo before we showed any setup for it. And I promised to show you where that actually comes from. And that is in the brain. So we're currently in the brain. If you want to get here, just click brain in the sidebar. And then if you want to access like your preferences, your workspace preferences, your brand and insights, you can click the Insights tab there in that sidebar. And then here is where you'll find a website file. And you can click on that. And it's pretty basic here, but it's a stored link back to the site. And this is how initially scanned the site and got a lot of the information for the brand. And then if you click on company context, this holds the real substance, a written description of the business and the founder, revenue estimate, legal structure, key people, direct competitors, and so much more. All of it's editable text too. So if anything in here is outdated or missing, you can update it directly and Hubi will work from the corrected version from that point forward. All right. Then moving on to a brand, if we click that in the sidebar, you'll find the brand color palette with the actual colors and the hex color codes. Again, if you recall, whenever it created those thumbnails for our social posts, it pulled directly from this and had the right colors that matched my website. There's also website tone analysis covering a summary, the primary tone, formality, emotional tone, target audience. There's also sample ad copy showing what my voice actually sounds like in practice. And then further down, you'll find website formality, website tone, brand personality, and brand logo. And then one more thing worth showing here, if you click edit guidelines there in the upper right corner, that opens guidance for Hubi, which is literally the instruction set anytime it creates or edits content in this folder. And you'll see a customer tone of voice section already filled in from the original onboarding questions, along with brand voice, do and don't sections underneath. And those are empty right now, but this is exactly where you'd add your own rules, like specific words to avoid or anything else that defines your voice. And this is the resource that Hubi is actually pulling from every time it seems to already know your brand without being asked, whether that's picking the blue color palette for my social posts or matching my tone inside a job. If anything here ever needs correcting or expanding as well, this is where you do it, and you'll never have to re-explain yourself in chat again, which is always nice. All right, so that's Hubi, and if you want to try it out on your own, visit the link in the video description below. There's a free plan to get started so you can connect your store, test the whole workflow, the Slack setup, the jobs, and the brain, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. So that's going to do it for this video. If you found it helpful, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Blog with Ben YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking to start a blog, check out these 2 videos on how to build, grow, and monetize a WordPress blog. They'll walk you through the entire process step by step. And as always, your support means a great deal to me and my family, and for that, I thank you. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.